afternoon. I am Miriam Warlock. I am Co-Director of Strategic Initiatives and Performance Improvement, otherwise known as SIPI. And thank you for joining TABC Talks series of licensing and technology transition. Today we'll be talking about temporary processes for applications. September 1st, 2021 is a historic day for TABC. It will be the convergence of three major events. First, a new license and permit structure. Because of sunset activity last session, they have eliminated many subordinate permits, gone through beer and ale consolidation, and provided new privileges for licenses and permits. You will learn more about the new licensing structure at the TABC Talks next month in May. Second major event will be new technology. We cannot wait for everybody to be introduced to the Alcohol Industry Management System, otherwise known as AIMS. It is a new system that allows applicants to submit online applications and conduct businesses and other transactions with TABC. More on that at the TABC Talks in June. The third major event, new fees. Also as a result of sunset last session, fees will no longer be in the code, but in administrative rules. So staff's recommendation to the commission of those new fees will be discussed at a stakeholder meeting on June 2nd. So this presentation will focus on the solution to receiving and processing applications that involve those new structure, new fees, and new technology. So temporary rule 3316 was adopted by the commission in March, and it expires at the end of November. There was also a new, a new permanent rule that says that an applicant can renew no more than 30 days in advance of their expiration date. So I'll go over all of those. For simplicity's sake, for the rest of this presentation, if I mention a license or a permit or a certificate, it's one and the same. And also for an original application, as defined in 3316, it means original as well as what we refer to as a supplemental application. Again, everything is in Rule 3316, which can be found on our website in the rules book. So the solution in that rule outlines or considers the new structure, new fees, and new technology, and how we will process applications from now through July 31st, the month of August, and then September 1st and later. Can we skip to the next slide? All right, there we go. Thank you. I would say this entire presentation can probably be summarized in two principles, and those principles are used to determine which structure, which fees, and which technology are applied. And that is for renewal applications, it is based on the expiration date of that license. For original applications, it is based on the date the completed application is received. So renewal is to expiration date, as original is to receipt date. Those are the key principles to keep in mind as we go throughout this presentation. So from now until July 31st, let's talk about that. So first, renewals. It's business as usual. If you renewed 2 years ago, you'll go through the same online process. You'll pay the fees that exist now, and you'll be in the structure that exists now. And also as a reminder, regardless of when TABC issues that renewal, whether that's August 15th or November 15th, you will still pay the fees and use the structure that exists now. Because as I said, the basis for renewal applications is the date of expiration. So, and keep in mind that you can't renew your application, renew your license unless you're within 30 days of the expiration date. Now for original applications, also business as usual. You'll use the online forms that exist now, submit your application through the two options that are outlined on the slide, and we will process your application as long as we receive that completed application by July 31st. I keep saying completed application because I want to reinforce what that means. A completed application means all the questions have been answered, all the publications have been done, and the certifications have been submitted, and payment has been received. payment has been received. And we want to make sure and accentuate that. So let me tell you about what happens on our end so you can understand the process. So we receive an application. It takes about 3 business days for us to review that and determine, yes, they have met the criteria of submitting the applications and the certifications. Publications, certifications, and answered all the questions. When we see that, then we will send a remit notice letter and say, this is how much you owe for the licenses and subordinates that you are requesting. The applicant will see that, turn around, send the money back to TABC. All that takes time. So it takes us about 3 business days. Then it will go through the mail to the applicant or the licensing service. It takes time to turn that around and send it back through the mail or drop it off. So just consider that when determining when should I submit my application in July. Okay. I also want to note that if you go through that process and it falls short, either the payment wasn't received or you didn't get far along in the process, or in those first 3 days you realized that you were deficient in an area, we would return the application to you, notify you where you were deficient, give you the opportunity to resubmit. If everything didn't happen by July 31st, you can take that information, because we're going to send it back to you. You can take your publications, your certifications, and then September 1st, resubmit into AIMS. You'll answer all the questions through AIMS, but those publications and certifications still apply. You don't have to go back and do it again. So I just want to make that clear. And in terms of temporary and catering, same process that exists today, no changes. So let's talk about August. So for existing license holders, same thing. Repeat the process from 2 years ago. You'll pay the same fees that exist today and under the same structure that exists today. You can't apply unless you're within 30 days of your expiration. And regardless of when the renewal is issued by the agency, you will still pay the fees that exist today, because again, it is based on your renewal date. Based on your expiration date. Let's talk about originals. So Rule 3316 states clearly that the agency will not be receiving original applications in the month of August. And an original application means original for a primary permit or license for the subordinates and any of those supplementals described in Rule 3316. So just be aware that even though we may not be accepting for those 31 days original applications, we will still be processing applications. There are a lot of applications that we expect to be coming in July. So all the originals that have been submitted through July 31st, all the renewals that we would expect, and then the daily temporary notices that come in, all those will be processed from now until September, and then we'll continue after that. And all these are being processed in a very antiquated system, which is why we are moving to AIMS. So if you can imagine a hamster in a hamster wheel, that's what licensing staff is going to look like in August, trying to issue as many licenses as possible. Now, for temporaries and catering in the month of August, same as it is now. Continue the exact same process. So now we go to September. Yay, AIMS is here. So for September, for renewals, everything will be done in AIMS. You will renew through AIMS, you'll make payment through AIMS, and it'll be the new structure and new fees. And because renewals are based on the date of expiration, this will apply for anyone that expires September 1st or later. Now for original applications, you'll submit, you'll answer questions through AIMS just like you would if you went through the paper form, but you'll do it in AIMS and you'll provide your certifications and your publications and your payment all in AIMS. New structure will apply and new fees will apply. And with the exception of September 2021 expiration date, licenses can't be renewed earlier than 30 days from expiration. I'll talk more about the September 2021 expirations in just a moment. So for temporary event authorizations, I used a different terminology, but for temporary event authorizations, license holders should use AIMS to provide notice or to request approval for temporary events and make payment. And even the nonprofits who are seeking the new, what will be new on September 1st, the nonprofit entity temporary event permit, they also will use AIMS to apply for a permit. And all the rules for temporary event authorizations were adopted by the Commission in the fall. They will be effective September 1st. They are in Chapter 33, Subchapter E of the rule book, which you can find on our website. More details on temporary event authorizations at the TABC talks in July. So let's talk about licenses expiring specifically in September 2021. So the code says that a license holder who has passed the expiration date and has not renewed within 30 days should not be operating. So then we also have Rule 3316 that says those expiring September 2021 cannot renew until September 1st. So that we don't cause any heartache to those limited number of licenses that expire in September 2021, on their expiration date in September, they will be noted as in progress in our system, which basically allows them to continue to operate. Now, they will have that distinction until they renew or until 30 days after expiration, whichever comes first. Also, there will be no late fee assessed for those filing late who are expiring in September. But no matter what, if you expire in September, you still have to reapply. And you must renew within 30 days from your expiration date. Also, enforcement and audit staff will receive training and will use discretion if they happen to be visiting one of those locations that has a license that expires in September, and use discretion and not issue a citation for operating without a license. Now, for licenses expiring in October, November, and forevermore, you will use AIMS, and it will be under the new structure and the new fees. And again, just not outside of the 30 days from expiration. So that concludes my presentations. I will now take a drink and take your questions. Except I don't see any questions. Wow. Okay, we'll give it a few minutes. Okay, no, when will fees be published? Fees will be published the week in the middle of May, around May 19th is when all the changes that we are recommending for Chapter 33, including the fee subchapter, will be posted on board docs. Will paper applications not be accepted after September 1st? We will accept paper applications. I strongly encourage everyone to use AIMS. It is robust. It will cause the processing of an application to be more efficient, not only for the applicant, for the agency. So the more, because if an application comes in paper, there will be a person here at the agency that will have to turn around and type it all into AIMS. So the most efficient way to get your application processed would be to use AIMS. So there was a question about if you have an LLC and multiple permits, will there be one user login? I am going to defer answering that until the June TABC Talks presentation, when our CIO will talk all about AIMS and how you'll be introduced to it. Same thing, how will access or instructions be communicated? A lot of material will be shared at the June June TABC Talks. Let's see. Can renewal applications in July and August be submitted via paper or only through online portal? Just as it is now, we accept paper renewals now. I would encourage you to use the online portal, but Yes, you can submit on paper. A lot of questions about AIMS, and I'm going to defer all of those to June. And I would also suggest that you check out our website. Under there's a heading at the top that is TABC changes 2021 or something to that effect. And it has information on AIMS and a lot of the content of this presentation too. Can fall festivals apply now for a temporary permit? So I'm struggling with this, and here's why. Because if the event is in the fall, so after September 1st, depending on, I assume this is a license holder, not a nonprofit asking the question. So effective September 1st, as a wine and beer retailer, mixed beverage, they have the privilege of holding temporary events without having a separate temporary permit as we do now, or a catering permit. That's when the temporary event authorization kicks in, where if it's a private event, you would notify us. And if it's not a private event, more public, then you would submit a request for approval, a temporary event approval request. Temporary event approval request. Again, all is outlined in those rules in Chapter 33. I'm going to say if the event is in the fall, they should probably wait until the fall. But I think it'd be best if you would send that question to the email address stakeholder@tabc.texas.gov.
So we can make sure it's addressed in July.
Right, because I'd like to talk that over.
And then the webpage is services at the top, and then the 2021 changes.
So on our website, if you go to services, the first item you'll see is TABC 2021 changes. I would monitor that practically daily. And if you are not registered for industry emails, I strongly encourage you to do that. It would be huge because we are sending out a great deal of information. I don't understand that. Okay, that one. You'll talk about that one. So what is the intended procedure for obtaining local certifications for original applications, and how would these be submitted? I'm not sure if you're talking about now or after September 1st, but now it's the same way you have been doing. For September, I believe Retta can probably, our CIO can probably talk about it more. And that's the type of information that will be on our website. As far as how it will work in AIMS, my assumption is some type of upload, but you will be able to attach it, connect it to the application that you are working on at that time. We're still working on AIMS now and all the different components of it. So I have not seen that particular module and exactly how it will work, but I know it's like a one-stop shop. And when it comes to fees, I will hold off on those questions until June 2nd, when we'll discuss not only the recommended fees, but the other changes in Chapter 33. Oh, okay. Sorry, lots of questions. I'm trying to work through them. If you are already renewing online, will your account transferred to the new AIMS system? So if you have a existing license, when you, and this will be discussed in June, when you onboard, so you will go into AIMS, I believe it's the month before you expire, and claim your business. So you make sure that, yes, that is That's me, that's my name on the permit, and that's where I'm located, and other details, and you claim your business. When you do that, we are making sure that whatever you have now will show up in the AIM system. So we will transfer basically your license and permit information over to AIMS.
Under the new structure.
And under the new structure. So in the case of someone that has an easy one, a wine and beer retailer's permit, you will in AIMS have a wine and malt beverage retailer's permit. If you have a brewer's permit and manufacturer's license now, and you don't expire until after September 1st, when you go in, you will have a brewer's license. So what happens if application submitted at end of July, but remittance form not requested before August 1st? That's why I would give yourself plenty of time. If you submit your application at the end of July, I can't put a particular date on it, but like I said, we need 3 business days to look at it. It takes time to go from TABC to wherever you are through the mail. You have to receive it, whether that's a licensing service or their applicant, if they happen to be out of town that day, or whatever, you have to factor all that in, and then getting it back to us. So we have to have it in our hands July 31st, effectively. So just allow what you think is a sufficient amount of time. And in case somebody missed it, proposed fees. The fees that staff will recommend to the commission will be discussed at a stakeholder meeting on June 2nd, that morning. And the fees and other changes to Chapter 33 will be posted on board docs, like all of our stakeholder meetings, in the middle of May. Okay, will permits that expire in August but are renewed in September be subject to the new fees? So that means someone has a permit now, it expires in August. If they whether they file their paperwork in August or a couple of days late and they file in September, again, for existing licenses, it's based on expiration date. So if your expiration is in August, regardless of when you submit the paperwork, as long as you're within 30 days, and regardless of when the license is renewed, you will pay the fees that exist on your expiration date. So in this case, in August, current fees, current structure. Okay, so there's a nonprofit asking about fall festivals. So I would say that you should wait until September to submit, go through AIMS, and you would apply for the nonprofit entity temporary event permit. Often referred to around here as a NETI or NEAT. We'll see what sticks. So someone's asking about the status of renewal. I would suggest sending an email to, you can send it to stakeholder and we'll forward it to the appropriate person. So the email that's on the screen, stakeholder@tabc.texas.gov. And just so that you know, as long as you submit it within 30 days of your expiration, you're okay to continue operating. How will these changes affect the local cities and counties? I'm not sure it will. I mean, because it's a responsibility of the applicant to get certifications from the appropriate jurisdiction. So I can't say that it won't have any effect, but to my knowledge, based on the presentation I just gave, it should not have an effect on cities and counties. If your license expires May 5th, you should renew before May 5th. Anytime between now and May 5th, you should renew online, and there is a link in the presentation under the heading of now to July 31st. And you can click on that link and it will get you started. Okay, how will a new permit applicant assign a licensing agent on their behalf? AIMS will have that capability. If you do use a licensing service, you can allow that licensing service to submit information on your behalf. And the Retta Mosley CIO will ask her to touch on that in June. Okay, are all the forms changing? Meaning our client won't need to sign a bunch of documents. We would just need to provide that information to the TABC via AIMS. I can tell you that some of the forms are changing. So anything having to do with a temporary event has changed because the structure has changed. Now is the authority that's given to many retailers to be able to conduct temporary events without having to have a separate permit. But they still must either notify us or seek approval. Those two different means. And then if you are not a license holder but a nonprofit, then there's a separate permit just for you. Those forms look different, but if you use AIMS, it will walk you through the, have you sold tickets? Do you have sponsorship? You will answer those questions and it will help you determine if you can just submit notification or if you have to seek approval. And if I'm not answering any of your questions, then please submit to the email address that's on the screen. There are a lot of questions and I'm trying to sort of capture them generally. But if I haven't touched on it, let me know. And there are some questions that I'm reading that I don't know the answers to either. So, and it's sort of hard to try and figure out what you're inferring without hearing you directly. So I apologize for that. So someone's asking, they have a license that expires September 10th. Do I need to wait until September 1st to file the renewal? Yes. In fact, the rule states that you are not allowed, you can't submit before September 1st. Let me explain a little bit about that. So the technology that we have now is old and it's a system called Versa. Y'all don't have to worry about that part, but just know that it is really old and it is needed to be replaced for oh so long. That system recognizes the fees and the license structure that exists today. It doesn't know anything about a brewer's license. It doesn't know anything about the non-existence of a private carrier's permit or a catering permit. That it lives in today. Whereas AIMS only reflects the law as it will exist on September 1st. It only recognizes a brewer's license. It has no idea what a manufacturer's license is, or what a private carrier's permit is, or what a catering permit is. None of those items are reflected in AIMS. So they are completely separate systems, and the demarcation point is at September 1st. So that's why for those that do expire in September, you can't renew early because AIMS won't be open for business, so to speak, to September 1st. And if you want to do it any earlier than that, like August 10th, then you would be in the old system under the old structure, old fees. And again, for existing licenses, everything's based on your expiration date. Okay, I think we have time for just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up. What about expedited? Well, what about expedited fees in September for not submitting more than 10 days prior to the fall event? That is something that we need to look at. So we are feverishly taking notes over here. So thank you for that. And that's something that we need to look at. Since permittees have no control on when TABC sends out remittance forms, can we have a drop dead date for filing that we can be assured the application will be processed under the old system? The short answer to that is no. That is why I tried to share with you the timelines that are involved on our end, but we have no control over the Postal Service and whether or not that applicant responds quickly to that remittance notice and how long it will get back to us, or if they can actually drop it off at one of our offices. So no, the drop dead date is that July 31st, we have to have everything in hand and it has to be a completed application. So it's 30 days prior to expiration. So if you have a license, it expires, I'm going to make a February 1st, then you can't start renew in December before. You have to wait until 30 days before the date of expiration before you can submit any paperwork, so to speak, for your renewal. Now, for 30 days past the expiration date, you have the ability to renew your permit, but within those 30 days, you should not be operating, with the exception of those expiring in September 2021. So if a permit expires on September 1st, can they renew in August and pay the current fees, or will they pay the new fees? If a permit expires on September 1st, they cannot renew. Now I'm answering the question. If the permit expires September 1st, they cannot renew until September 1st. They will do so in Ames, and they will pay the new fees under the new structure. So again, a lot of questions about Ames. I can't wait for June when Retta can answer all of your questions. Okay, I think. Oh, does in hand mean in Austin? So I think I've used that term, meaning we have to have your payment. I'm going to say within at the field office. And if I have misspoken, then I apologize, and we will make that known. What?
Do they have to send a payment here? Because I thought we changed that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, so they can drop it off. Yeah. So I will double check on that, but I think we can make that work. Okay, I think that is it. A flurry.
If we didn't answer, they should submit to the email.
Again, any questions that I did not address, please email the stakeholder at tabc.texas.gov and we will get back to you. So thank you everybody for attending today and spending your lunch hour with TABC. We appreciate it and look forward to hearing about that new license and permit structure next month. Thank you.